Over here at the official Raw Glasser Network, and we're going to teach you about gardening, how to, why it's good, and probably debate a little bit. So let's go. Hey guys, welcome to another Alt Universe Live. My name is Rob. That's Caren. I call her mom because I can. And this show covers all sorts of fun things. Today, however, we're going to kind of mix both this and everyday heroes together, maybe some money or mental health as well, because we're actually going to talk about some important worldwide issues going on. But first and foremost, welcome to the show. If you are a gardener and you like some of our other gardening shows, then welcome back. If you're brand new, cool. So we're going to answer two main questions today. First off, why is gardening important? And secondarily, why sustainability is important and how to do so. So you just started with your little raised pot and everything, right? You got your, herbs growing? What else you got?
Flowers. I've got flowers that are literally taking over the entire planting area. I think I'm having fun.
Cool.
I'm going to have to get another one because it's so fun. Very fun.
Well, we'll definitely need pictures of that because we want to see all the cool colors and stuff like that. So obviously you're doing it for your reasons. I garden for mine and I totally blew my mind. My snake plant's in the other room, but I'll still talk about it and we'll still show you later. But why is it important to garden? So, we could go over the personal thing. We've done that before, right? So I kind of want to focus on why is it important for the environment and your surroundings. Well, gardening in general, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I learned this recently. Gardening local plants actually stops the growth of weeds and invasive species. Why? Because most of your garden patch is going to be overrun by the things that are supposed to be here. You can easily go online, look up your city or state, and find plants that do. Down where we are, cacti is a big thing because of obviously drought regulations. However, in the desert area, cacti grow best because, fun fact, they store their own water. Another fun fact, if you're actually out in the wild and you need water, you can actually open a cacti and drink water from it. I don't know if you remember that. I learned that in Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts, I was going to say, that was a Boy Scout thing, right?
That's a Boy Scout thing. Or Girl Scout. I'm sure Girl Scouts did that too. So depending on where you live, you're going to know what you want. But if you don't know what you want to grow, go online, type in your city. There's probably going to be a list of plants that they recommend as native plants. And native plants are generally just that, things you would see growing outside your window. So other things that are good about gardening daily, the ecosystem, such as the animals that live there. Bees and butterflies rely highly on it. Now, I don't know if you know, but recently the bee population around the world has been cut down and only about 20 or 30% are left. Yeah. And most people are like, ew, bees. However, bees do much more than we think we do. Well, I mean, we know what they do, but those watching may not. So bees not only make a lot of the food, obviously they're big producers of honey and other sugar substance, but because of pollination, bees actually grow, I'm going to say maybe about 80% of what you see, because by accident, it sticks to their legs. When they fly, they drop the seeds of the flowers throughout where they live. So you'll notice, and I'm sure you've seen this before, and I'm sure, if you look on a map, depending on where you live, you'll see the stuff growing, right? So you might not notice it, but I would assume, and again, I couldn't find a number on this, most of the plants that you see growing outside, let's say half of them probably are bee related because of their travels.
Interesting. So they're pollinating. They're literally taking and wow.
Exactly. And that also explains how some places you'll find flowers that aren't supposed to be there grow, because bees do usually migrate far and wide.
Right.
And you'll end up with California plants in Colorado because those bees might fly and you'll go, huh.
They went on a trip. Hey.
They go on a trip. Butterflies, the same thing. You can actually attract butterflies and other birds like hummingbirds as well to your garden. They don't necessarily pollinate as much, but they're pretty. They're fun to look at. So why not do that too? So, what else does it help? Well, if you do gardening naturally, you're going to be using less fertilizer and pesticides, which are
Mhm.
not good. Using less of that helps two things. Well, one, you're going to be able to go outside and roll around in your grass and not really worry about getting stuff on you or your clothes that are
Right.
bad for you. Secondarily, you're also helping the environment because, again, just as bees and stuff will transfer pollen, they can transfer that stuff as well.
Right.
And you might be accidentally polluting your next door neighbor's houses because the animals are traipsing back and forth. And if
Interesting.
you have pesticides in your backyard, again, it's not their fault. They're just wandering through your backyard. They might be dragging, residue back and forth.
Right.
So gardening is very good. And of course, I know we talked about it before, but it is good for the soul. It's good for the mind. Apparently, there's stuff in dirt that when you touch it, it actually increases your serotonin. I had no idea about that, but that's kind of neat. So what do you think? I mean, what
Yeah.
what what made you put your little
Well,
thinking together?
first, you know what? You're going to laugh at this because I've always said I have a brown thumb. And somebody took me to task on that and said, why are you so negative about that? Why don't have a brown thumb? And I was, so, well, just watch me. And it was almost like a challenge that I could actually have things grow and not die on me. And so a friend of mine, I came out and we went out, and I do agree with the dirt, the soil. I don't think we're supposed to call it dirt.
So yes,
The soil. So we bought four, 50-pound bags of soil to fill this thing that I now plant in, and feeling it and touching it and digging into it. There is something very, very cathartic about that. And I feel very successful because my flowers are growing and my rosemary is growing and I'm succeeding. I now can say in a positive way. So now I'm very positive. I do not have a brown thumb. I actually have maybe a light green thumb. I mean, we're not quite over there, but it has been an amazing experience. Now, Rob, you're gardening. Are you growing vegetables? What are you gardening?
uh, you don't have a brown thumb. No, so we haven't fully actually gotten to it yet. What I do, and I brought it up, is the snake plant thing.
Right,
For me, it's easiest right now because they're super indestructible.
right,
Basically, you water them. We do it once a week. You can actually get it with every 2 weeks. But for us, because they actually help the air quality. So we have allergies. Well, I have allergies. I think Krista does as well. So having a snake plant in the house not only is pretty, but it actually helps clean your air. So
right,
that's a reason why we kind of got into the plant thing, was because flowers are great and we try to bring them in, but flowers kind of die when they're in the vase. They don't last very long.
I have a question for you, Rob. So when we
Sure.
say gardening, are you only talking, and I don't think you are because you started talking about indoors. Or
Right.
when we say gardening, is it really like outdoors in the soil and planting outside, or gardening and having little pots in the house?
That's
Like,
a good question. No, I mean, I think it's either or. When we talk about sustainability, I think that'll also answer a little bit. But I think if you're just asking me personally, I think, yeah, if you don't have the time or want to necessarily get out there and get dirty, you can easily bring in your stuff. I know on the other show we had those little pots that we
right.
sold.
And we're going
Um,
to be showing this, the hydroponic, because you can actually do this in your
well,
house.
and actually, okay. So really, you could do the fun stuff and grow little things, but the thing about this I actually like a lot because this not only saves the water, which we'll talk about in sustainability, but this grows what you need to grow versus what you want to grow. And I know that sounds kind of funny. Obviously, you want to grow what you want to grow, but when you're doing, yeah, exactly, we can garden inside. But when you're doing the hydroponic machine, you're not only growing pretty things, but you're growing useful things. So, like the commercial that I always see on TV now, when you're talking about it, I'm like, oh, I see the commercial all the time. Tomatoes and carrots. Somebody was cutting, basil or something off of the thing. So not only is it something cool and useful, but you're getting something out of it. And one could say you're maybe saving some bucks because you're not
Yes,
shopping.
yes. And I think also hydroponic it doesn't use soil, it uses water.
Correct. So I guess the negative there is, and then we'll get into the drought thing in a second, but I think the negative there is most people right now probably wouldn't be so privy because of the water usage. However, I'm sure it's still a lot less water
Yeah,
usage than you would
yeah,
to sprinkler or,
yeah. No, this is not.
hose.
Yeah, not
But you also have to. I agree with them in a sense too, because I think the less you have to use their whites, which is why I love the snake plants so much. Because I put some water in the pot, it's done. I'm good. I do it once a week. It takes me maybe this much water per thing, if that,
right,
and then
right,
I'm done. So I love a plant like that because
right,
you're not
right.
using so much. But yeah, I mean the hydroponic. And again, I think you told me like you said somebody has it, but then I started seeing the commercials and I'm like, oh, this is like a humongous
It is, and
merchandise.
they have tabletop ones, they have outdoor ones, they have indoor ones, and I think that we need to address that. Not everyone lives in a house with a backyard where you can go and plant outside. People live in apartments and
True.
condos. They live in high rise. Maybe you have a balcony. Maybe you need some potted plants or something you're going to garden, or maybe you don't even have a balcony, which is cool, but you have to then garden inside. And I think that's where the little pots come and the hydroponic. However,
Exactly.
right, and it cleans the oxygen, doesn't it? Clean the air when
Depending on the plants I have do. Not all of them do, but if you search online for, um, I don't know what you call it, but air cleansing plants, so to speak, you can get a list. There's one called a spider plant that's kind of like a snake plant, but it goes more outwards. It looks like the leg.
right.
So I think a great way to jump into is sustainability, because this is the biggest deal here, and this is what really gets my goat going. And somebody that we know actually commented a while back or on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I don't know if you want to read it off really quick.
Yeah.
Just kind of paraphrase.
So when we went and put this show up and we scheduled the event, somebody, Kevin Caren, made a comment saying, I'm hoping with all this rain, the drought restrictions will be lifted and I can actually grow my garden again. And I think a lot of people are going through that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't know where he is as far as the rain. Here we've gotten a little bit, but I don't know if we're at the level where the amount of rain we've gotten here is good enough. But I totally agree. It would be nice if we got, I don't know, 2 or 3 days of pretty good rain.
Right.
Now the other day we were driving, and I don't know the rivers or whatever, but something that looked like it was dead all of a sudden had some water flowing through. It was gross and muddy, but it had some water flowing through, and I was like.
And I think that's because of our soil here. The desert has different soil. It's sand, and it literally sinks right into the ground. And as a matter of fact, that's how we have a lot of golf courses here, as you know. And in fact, one might say that we're wasting water when they go and water the lawn, the golf courses. But in fact, they actually have groundwater and wells underneath that collects all the water. And when it goes through the sand, it collects down there. So we're prepared a little bit better, I think, than a lot of communities. And that's because of our soil, I think.
I mean, yeah, and you think about, places like in Africa and Australia that are mostly desert.
Right.
They've probably figured out ways to deal.
Right.
But if you've watched any, documentaries, the animals that are trying to look for water, they have to dig. So, I agree. We are somewhat prepped, but I think it's also just kind of, the as it goes. Now, on this website that I found, and again, we're not going to go through the research because we want to talk opinion, but they did put out some really good points here. So sustainability for the home, the two things I really want to go over here: lowering your AC and heating bills by growing native shade trees, and helping reducing food waste through composting. Mm-hmm. So sustainability in the home. I love this. These are really, really important things. I know when you're in a 2-level AC, air rises, super expensive. We're now in a single, you're on a single level as well. Plant those shade trees. Again, if you don't know what they are, I don't know, we have some in the backyard, but
ficus, get it? We have a ficus in our backyard.
Okay. And all you're going to do, take some time. So maybe you can get one that's partially bloomed already to kind of speed up the process. But shade trees make all the difference. You're probably thinking, well, you got your roof. How is the shade going to help? Well, if you're shading the outside area of you, the inside's going to get cooler, guys. It will.
Yeah.
And then reducing food waste, well, that's a big deal on everybody's mind. I mean, people are like, well, we're wasting all this stuff. What the hell? if you can go back, and there's a machine, I think you've seen it before, you actually can compost it. You
Right.
throw
I'm
your
like,
garbage.
we should have actually put one in
Oh,
here.
we'll throw that on afterwards for you guys because it's
Yeah,
really, really well worth it. I think it's only about 60, $70. It's
and you
super
go under your
inexpensive.
kitchen it gets under your kitchen sink, and you put all the scraps in there.
Exactly. When you're done,
Yeah, very
perfect.
cool.
So sustainability for the home, great. For your lawn and garden, as I mentioned before, planting native plants stops invasive species. Climate appropriate plants usually grow stronger. Why? Because as you just said, the plants that live here are prepared
Right.
for the weather. So
They
if
call
you are into cacti, if you are into ficus, if you're into more of the flowering plants, go online, type in desert, type in
it
mountain, type in coastal. There's a
drought
list.
resistant. Type in drought resistant plants. There's
There you go.
bougainvillea. There's a lot of different plants that actually flower, because I think a lot of people think when you go to the desert, cactus is not, it's not pretty. It's just green and sticky and little prickly things. But in fact, drought resistant plants are beautiful. There's some amazing colorful
No, I'm
plants.
a fan. We got a couple outside the door of cacti. I mean, they're cool, and they
Yeah,
actually grow flowers on them if you're
right,
lucky, which is
right.
pretty neat. All right, and then the environmental sustainability here, guys. Again, limit the spread of invasive species in your community. So what you're doing in your backyard is actually helping your neighbors and your local parks. You're reducing excess waste in local landfills because, surprise, surprise, there's no waste or minimal.
Right.
And you're also not only saving money on your air bill, but on your water bill because you're minimizing your water usage.
Right.
Most of the stuff is not super.
It's not rocket science, guys. This is
Exactly. And again, I'm not calling people out and saying anybody's, whatever, but it's not rocket science. And yes, we're in that type of country here where it's like, okay, well, do it for me. I don't want to do it. I'm like, you got to take 2 minutes and do it yourself, or else it's not gonna.
Yeah, and you're going to enjoy it. You really will enjoy it. I mean, once you do it. And I'm here to say that because I was resistant. I wasn't going to do it, and now I can't wait to look out my window and see my flowers, and I can't wait to look out and see the tree that's growing, because it makes me, again, it's how it makes us feel.
Yeah, no, and so not only is it fun and kind of a cool hobby to do, but it is super important. And you look at, let's say, the Amazon rainforest, which is losing its trees, but you're looking at companies like, let's say, Charmin and Bounty, who for every roll you buy, they're going out and they're planting an acre or two.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff you need. Now, again, I don't know the logistics. I'm not really sure what that means. I haven't looked it up. But my assumption, I'm hoping, is that when they say they're planting a couple acres, they're planting a couple acres, which
Yeah.
I would, they're not going to go against their thing.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing you need. And it's great to see a big company doing it. And we're going to talk about companies next week on a different scale. But it's good to see that you look at the product and it says, hey, you just bought this toilet paper, this paper towels, but hey, don't worry, we're planting 15 trees to replace all of that.
Right.
Now, the only question, and again, I don't know if there's an answer to it, and I'll pose you on it. Is there a way to get it done? Because I was watching a Bounty commercial, and they said, put away your dish rag. A Bounty towel cleans your hands more sanitary than using a dish rag. However, so many people prefer to use a rag over towels to save the paper. So the ongoing question here, guys, is what do you do to kind of make both sides happy?
I think there's products out there that are like paper towels, bamboo sheets that work like
That's
paper
true.
towels, but they are organic, and when they're thrown away, they go back to the earth. So I think there are things that are starting to come out, but for those of us who say we're not going to wait for that, so that's why we do use wash rags or towels, because it's
Right.
better. You can throw that in the washing machine, again, using water, but then you do full loads, right? And it's a balance, guys. It really is. I mean,
It is.
balanced. We're in a drought, but at the same time, you don't want to, throw resources away, and then you end up with the, stuff in the ocean where the fish are getting caught up in things. So it is a balance.
It's just a question that's always on my mind to think about. It's what exactly is the thing, but you're right. But then someone goes, oh well, now you're making out another plant that you're cutting. It's a vicious circle.
Right.
but it's a circle that if you can close or make a little bit smaller,
Right. Right. I
you
agree.
know,
Totally. Somebody that's doing a really good job at this is Ron Finley. He's known as the Gangsta Gardener. First of all, I love the name, right? He's a Gangsta Gardener. It's here in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, in the Pico Union area. And this gentleman decided to take all these streets, and it was just dirt patches, and on the sidewalk there'd be dirt, and he started to plant them like vegetables and flowers and you name it. And the city said, no, you can't do that, you don't have a license. And somehow he was able to fix that and got a license. And now in the inner city, he is literally teaching people how to be sustainable in their own gardens. And if you go and take a look at ronfinley.com, you're going to see what he's done. It is pretty freaking amazing. And he started this. And I know we talked about this in another show, right? They're doing these sustainable gardens everywhere.
yeah, throughout the world, places like Japan, places like Europe, all over the place.
Right.
Even like the United Kingdom, that usually gets pretty poor weather. They are making an effort to make sustainable gardens, even in places where the weather is not so nice to the plants.
Right.
They're still doing it. But I know we have a whole list of things
Cool
to
stuff.
show, and these things will make your job even that much easier. So what do we got?
So this is a sustainable garden project book. Okay, so you can go. This is a really cool book. I did actually look through some of the pages to see what this was, and it literally gives you projects and how you can create that sustainable garden. So take your camera out and scan this code, and it will take you right over to the item in Amazon. Here's another one: a regenerative garden, 80 practical projects. So we're giving you projects. You don't have to go and buy books, though. You can go Google this. You can say, what kind of projects can I do in my backyard? But if you don't want to do that and you want to see the information that other people have done, go do that. We talked a little bit about vegetable gardening for beginners. This is really cool, and you can do the hydroponic for that. You can actually grow tomatoes and lettuce and herbs and stuff. So this is kind of cool. Or you can go plant in a little planter in the kitchen or outdoors. Do what do you, as we like to say. And of course, if you're going to go and garden, you need some tools.
Yep.
Or you can do what I did. I used a kitchen spoon because I didn't have any tools.
That's probably not how you do it.
I know. I did go out and buy some kitchen tools. I think we have let's see, what do we have here? I don't think, did we have a comment here? Maybe not. Oh, you can definitely garden inside. Yeah, we definitely can garden inside. So, you go get your tools, check them out. And this is a window herb garden that you put.
This is kind of like what we showed in the other show, except I think that one was little flowers and fruit, but same idea here.
Right. And so if you have a windowsill right out, where your kitchen sink is, that's a great place to put it. Or maybe in your bathroom, if you have a window, anywhere that gets light. Very, very cool. And then finally, we'll just bring this up really quickly. And that's the indoor garden hydroponic. Just know, though, that there are outdoor ones that are huge. I mean, like huge. And they're pricey too. So I say check out this one first because it's not quite as expensive. And go ahead and grow and take some pictures. We'd love to see some pictures, right? I want to see or just send food.
Or
no, maybe not. Maybe not.
Send it to her, and if it's okay, she'll send it to me.
Yeah. So what do you guys think, huh? Should you go plant? I think they should go plant, right?
They should go plant, yeah. No, it's a great thing. And, as we always do, we want to kind of give our personal opinion. The articles we found are super great. Check them out. But we want to give you more of the personal touch along with the cool stuff. So, yeah, go check it out. Take your pictures. And
we'll see you next time.
There you go.